Top of the Mickey Ficky day. It is Saturday, October 14th, 2023, and it is 8:23 a.m. Yo, I be just thinking about a lot of stuff that I have went through in my life, right? But I don't know why the hell Rosetta Johnson's name keeps coming into my mind. Now, Rosetta Johnson, at the time when I found out about her, she was a neighbor to IGB, aka Bobby Wiggs, Tyrone Wiggs, and fucking Joyce Jean Wiggs, and and their uncle. Let me tell you how and why IGB was mad that I didn't want to be fucking with him like that anymore as I started to think in my head and inside of myself, even though I was out there and I was fucking smoking crack a mile a minute and all of this. And at the time I had got put out my grandma's house because I like she would send me to the bank sometimes to go get money to go get her hair and her gel and stuff like that to get her hair done. And I would take like $20 here and there out of her bank account, you know what I mean? And eventually, she had found out about it and I confessed to it. And I also, you know what I mean, replaced it, down the line and shit like that. But I had, replenished it more than what the heck I actually had taken from her. And and it's just not in a financial sense because like I was fucked up. So anywho, I had to leave from out of there, and I was getting high with IGB and TCB and all of them. Like I said, I was doing Strange for Change and a place to stay and all of this other crazy ass shit, like in the world of fucking chaotic fucking drug users. So like they first of all they had fucking bed bugs. That was like the ultimate fucking shit. And in the course of that, I think that I had like took them to my grandma's house because she had bed bugs in the couch. We was trying to figure out whether it was from the Jewish Family and Children's Center or was it from me having my stuff at IGB house and then going to visit my grandmother before she had told me I couldn't come back to her house or whatever. So anywho, um like he started like kicking my back in to the neighbor and stuff, to all of his neighbors and shit like that, like trying to diminish me and trying to make me feel fucked up. And I remember this one time when Mark Scott, which is my last two children's father, we were out in Camden and he had wound up getting locked up and shit. And this is around the time when these fucking these drug cartels and shit like that out in Camden, they was pretty much like fucking following me and shit because of the shit that Mark was out there doing, aka Marquise and whatever other name that he had gave when we was staying out in Camden or whatever. And I had went to the police station in Camden, and from there I had got on the bus and I went to Philly, and I had went to the Elijah Shirley shelter, and I had to keep going go get positions to stay at this place that was like not too far, from there every night so that I could have a place to stay. And then eventually they had told me that I couldn't stay, that I couldn't stay there. I don't know whether it was a time frame or time or whatever, but I know that I had called, I think it was my mom or somebody, it was my mom or my grandmother or somebody when I was at Elijah Shirley at the time when fucking Mark was locked up. And doing all of that shit, he was beating me up and doing a whole bunch of other crazy ass shit. But what I do know is he was robbing like the sets and shit like that. And telling them that I fucking was the one that had took the product and shit like that, and had these people looking at me side eyed. I remember having an AR pointing at me when I was pregnant with my daughter Sanique, from one of the Mexican dudes that was doing lace or some shit, whatever the fuck the weed shit is, but it's on the next level type shit. And yeah, it just was a whole bunch of shit. I got this mark on my eye because Mark, Yvonne, and all of them that was in Camden, they had paid these young boys to come and rob me on the set that I was watching for Larry. I don't even know what his real name is, but him and Mark had been cool for like mad long or whatever. I say all of this shit to say that when I went back to Asbury fucking when Mark got out of jail, he had came to Asbury looking for me. I don't know who had told him where I was at, but I was at IGB's house and shit getting high. And some type of way, Mark and Bobby Wiggs fucking made some type of pact or whatever. However, the shit went down, but I wasn't trying to be fucking with IGB on the sexual tip, and that was one of the reasons why he was mad when I had went down there. Him and TCB, you know, they was into a whole bunch of other crazy ass shit. But eventually, like going down the line after all of the shit that had transpired, Mark putting a hit out on me with to Larry, which was his boy, which was the one that had found the fucking abandoned house on the block that we was hustling. We wasn't hustling from the house, but it was like this little fucking abandoned little apartment that was like gutted out and shit. That was like in that along the pathway where everybody would go in there and trap on their shift or whatever. Anywho, I eventually had got winded up getting fucking banned from going over there because when I used to go over there, Mark used to be over there with all types of different prostitutes and shit like that, doing all type of sexual acts, and I was pregnant, and I remember he choke slammed me in front of this girl that he was in there getting high with and shit, and just disrespecting me and being foul. And I'm pregnant with your daughter, and it was a whole bunch of shit. But eventually, L had told me that I couldn't go over there to the trap house because I was making their spot hot and all of this other shit. Whoop de whoop, bop bop bop. So when all of that had went down, I guess that's when they got the bright idea to plot to have me robbed. After L had told me that I could no longer be, out there and be around, everybody getting money and shit. He had came to the motherfucking house that he had us staying in because Mark was nowhere to be found. I find out later on that he was at the barbershop with Yvonne and shit, cooking up the plan to have this shit done to me. Prior to that, he had karate chopped me in the back of my head. I died in the hospital in Cooper. And I don't think that they wanted to tell nobody that shit, but I know what I experienced when I was unconscious after he had did that shit to me. It was blood everywhere in this one trap house that we was at because we had to move around, and it was this chick named Diddles that used to be in this house, and the person that owned the house, I think they was locked up or some old shit. And it was this fucking dyke chick Mo. She had dreads. She was real dark skinned with like the big lips and shit like that. I think she liked me or some shit. But I wasn't, you know what I mean? But she, I was cool with all of them. Dana and fucking all of the people, all of the girls and shit like that. Like I didn't even feel no type of way because I knew what the fuck Mark was out there doing. And I had it to the point where I was so fucking done with him with the shit that he was doing. I'm like, if I see these chicks that he going out here doing all of this shit with, you got money to go spend with these motherfuckers. So when you come back to me, is no way that you not coming back with no type of, no bread or nothing for me or whatever you got going on. And the money that we had stashed that we was fucking making and shit, he had put up, and he had left me in the house with the fucking money that we had put up, not the fucking hustlers money or none of that shit. So I went and I went to every fucking place where they had like good coke, good crack, and I fucking purchased it and went back to the house, sitting there chilling and shit, hanging out with the chick Diddles, this older lady, she was older than me, her hair gray as shit, whatever, she wore glasses, brown skin chick. And like she knew what the fuck he was doing to me, and she also knew like what the fuck he was doing to me in that house, beating me up, all type of shit. So he had paid her to keep an eye on me. It was a whole bunch of crazy ass shit. Back to the Rosetta Johnson situation. So when all of this shit was going down, IGB was mad in his feelings or whatever. So he's trying to start a smear campaign. Nolan and all of them was all interconnected because I guess that's all they family. They all lived on the same fucking block. Nolan and them lived on they all lived on Prospect Avenue or whatever. Like you walk past the boys club, cross the street, a couple houses in. Now was Nolan and them house, and then you walk past the boys club, go in there where the fucking parking lot is, where the fucking Washington Village is. That's where Joyce Jean and all of them live. So it was that close. And then they had this fucking family member that was a cop and shit and he had just gotten into the police force or whatever. He was a young gentleman. I forget what his name is, but I know that was like Nolan and them nephew and IGB and them cousin or some old weird whack ass shit like that. So all of them was working together and all of this, and fucking Mark, and Mark tried to have me set up in Camden and in Philadelphia, mind you. He had fucking April and all of them coming crazy at me. April fucking running up on me. I winded up fucking getting into a physical altercation, stabbing this girl. He fucking, while I'm locked up, he was out here fucking April, the other chick Nicole, and fucking Michelle Johnson, and some more other fucking people. He had fucking Brenda Thompson and Odetta Thompson and shit, which I met Brenda in Camden. And then when we moved to Philadelphia, I found out that Brenda lived in Philadelphia with her sister Detta or whatever. She was messing with some dude named Sharif or some shit like that. He winded up going to prison. It was a whole bunch of shit that was going on. I remember like warehouses just like mysteriously being set up, like set on fire and shit to some of the people that I had befriended and stuff like that. That was cool with me. That knew what the fuck Mark was out there doing. Like I wouldn't put nothing past nothing. Mark and the people that he was running with. Like as I sit back and reflect, they was really some fucking cruddy, crappy ass fucking people and shit like that. But I was too ashamed and embarrassed at the time of my addiction to even fucking consider trying to reach out to my family. Like I was out there fucking looking crazy and feeling crazy, and then him over that period, them fucking years that I was with him kept saying to me, "Oh, I should be grateful that he got me away from where I was at," and this and like all type of psychological crazy ass shit. Like, and me feeling ashamed for myself because like I never seen that for myself, but being in the situation that I was in, the choices and decisions that I was out there making, I was in that predicament, you know what I mean, situation. So I say this to say they all had like they all was connected to people like in positions of power. Like I know that Mark had filed a lawsuit against the Camden police for some old shit that he had told me that had happened back in the day when he was out there the first time. And then I'm wondering why, when he had lied about whether his Uncle Wallace and his aunt Jean, Charlotte Derrico and them fucking said that I could come to their house in Browns Mills, I believe it was somewhere like that. And we went there, and then kind of find out I wasn't even supposed to be in the house. Why I had to be quiet, why I had to sneak around and shit. And I'm just asking them like, "Yo, are you sure that I could?" Then kind of find out Uncle Wallace had seen me there. He had called Aunt Jean, and Aunt Jean said she didn't want me in the home because Aunt Jean was still in Virginia or whatever in her house, but her and Uncle Wallace didn't live in the same places or whatever. I felt bad because I'm like, yo, and then I'm beefing with him, and then he wanted to get me in the treatment program and all this other stuff, and he was going to go work on doing whoop de whoop bop de bop, to make sure that I had a stable roof over my head. We wound up in fucking Camden, and the fucking nightmare had began. That's all I could say about that situation. Rosetta Johnson at the time was running for some type of political position in Asbury Park. I don't know exactly what it was that she was working on or whatever, but I know that all of these people that like in the course of my addiction that has seen me in my addiction and shit, like Stacey Williams, she had connections to Maisha D'Agostino, which worked in the fucking Mercy Center and shit like that. Like when I was trying to get myself together after I got clean and shit, I'm wondering why I can't get no jobs, why I can't fucking apply for no type of real assistance for myself, and getting denied, rejected left and right, left and right. Then when I finally was able to get a fucking, you know what I mean, a leg up, which was at Excelsior, I believe. That was the job after all of these years and shit. Then the motherfucking people at that job, they wanted to fucking be dick faces, and they fired me because they didn't train me properly at the job. I went and told the people at the unemployment office. Like, it's been so many injustices. Like, and I know that all of the people that had ties to people in positions and fucking nonprofit organizations and all of this shit, police departments, like, they all know what the hell all of these people, from fucking ex-lovers to family to friends to people that I don't even know, that they've been paying, and petitions and all type of shit that they had signed to say that I'm a terror, I'm this, and they did the same shit against my child Marquise Williams as well. The chicks, Camiana Westbrooks, fucking IJV